Hello for another episode of Diogenes Lamp. Today we're talking about the Toyota T100. I have a 1996 Toyota T100 and I've had it a long time. The subject today is brakes. The Toyota T100, for some odd reason, has a defective design on the brakes, and I've learned to solve the problem. Basically what happens on the vehicle, in a nutshell, is the brake pads, when they hit the brake rotor, some of the pad goes off the edge of the outside of the outer diameter of the outer perimeter of the rotor. So what it does is it actually will leave a little groove that protrudes on this edge here of the brake pad. What happens? What that does then, when it does that, is it simulates. Actually, no, it's actually my bad. It's the other side. It's this side. I take it back. This side gets an edge that actually sticks out as this area wears down. So what happens is it simulates that you have warped rotors. The truck actually hops and it feels like it's shaking left to right, but in fact it's not. The calipers actually, or the pads are actually moving this way, in and out. So what I had to do on a lot of the brake pads, I actually had to grind the outer. I basically assembled them on the vehicle, which is, you'll see it from this side. You'll see it from this side, and I see how far the disc goes, and then I actually draw a line and I grind this edge down a little bit on both sides, and basically that solves the problem. And then you have normal brakes. This truck has always had problems because of that, and it took me years to figure it out. What these are is, I decided for once, because I always use, my T100 has like 170,000, 180,000, 179,000 miles on it. Very good condition. I'll have to show you a video of it one of these days. But I've always used stock parts, genuine parts. I said to myself, this time I'm going to go on Rock Auto and I'm going to take a shot at getting some rebuilt calipers. These are genuine calipers, and they are rebuilt by Ray Bestis, without the pads, of course. But I want to tell you something. I think, looking at them, they did a very nice job on these. So I would definitely recommend them, and listen to the price. After the core charge, not including the core charge, a rebuilt caliper, 4-piston caliper like this, is costing me $50. So that's a great deal, considering I think I'm paying. I can't remember last time, but I'll bet you they're $120 or $150 each from the dealer. So I'm going to take a shot with these. The quality of the restoration on them is stupendous. It looks like they were bead blasted. What a nice job. Now let's talk also about brake pads. I've used them all. I've used stock pads. I use TRD pads. I use like some metallic, super semi-metallic ones that I had. I'm trying to think of the name brand of those. I think I got them from Tire Rack. Anyway, they make a mess, those brake pads, especially the TRD pads. They make a real mess. They stop a little better, the TRD pads, but what a mess of the wheels. You're cleaning them every week. It's heavy brake dust. These are EBC brake pads. Now, these are EBC yellow stuff brake pads. When you first put these on, they have a red wear layer that you have to wear off. I don't know if you can see that, a red wear layer. But these pads stop excellent. They're good in all weather. These are like considered like they're almost racing brake pads, the racing brake pads, and they say they're eco-friendly because I think that they're actually they're ceramic. But I want to tell you that I saved a few people's lives with these. I had a goober pull out in front of me with a little micro car, like a freaking one of those Hyundai Accents or something, pulled out right in front of me, going 40 miles an hour, come out with the driver's door facing me. I stood on the pedal, and that person, thank God, they just kept going, because I just got around them, and I saved their life with these brakes. The truck stood on its nose. I highly recommend the EBC yellow stuff pads. They're the best pads I've ever used on the T100. The T100 has a couple other shortcomings that can be fixed. The shock absorbers on the vehicle are horrible. I recommend Bilstein front and back, but if you only have the money, just do the fronts first, because that makes a tremendous difference. The truck would actually fly through the air when it would go over railroad tracks. Now it's definitely 100% better. If you put them on the back as well, you won't get that sway when you go around turns. Like if you stop and you accelerate around a turn, it kind of gives a sway. It gets rid of that. And another major problem, because what they did with this truck when they built it is they put huge wheels on it. It has 31-inch tires on it, which was a factory option, and I continue to use them. And also, by the way, I recommend the Michelin LTX mud and snow tires. They're good for 80,000 miles. They're $100 more than the normal tires you pay for, but they'll last twice as long. Normal tires last only about 40 for 45,000 miles if you get like a BF Goodrich or one of the others, anything else really. But the Michelin LTX is I'm on my second set. They're great. When they start to wear out, the tires don't even wear out. They just start to be, not as good in the rain and snow. The rubber dries out and becomes less sticky. But the other thing that I would definitely change, and this took me years to do this, because what I would do is I would just change it and put the original part on, thinking the original part was bad. The steering stabilizer. There's two things that you have to do to this truck. Because if you hit a pothole or a puddle of water, a huge puddle of water with one wheel, it'll rip the wheel off to the right out of your hand, making a very dangerous situation. So two things you do. First of all, you change the power steering fluid. Basically what you do is 2 or 3 times in a month, you get like a suction device, like one of those Mighty Vac things. You turn off the truck, you take the cap off, you suck the reservoir clean of the for the power steering, and you put back in clean Dextron 3 ATF fluid. You do that like 3 times, and it makes it, it's thicker, so it helps a little bit. But the biggest help is you go to, you go to Rock Auto, same place where I got these, and you buy the Monroe steering stabilizer. It's a lot larger. Like I said, I put 2 other of the stock ones on, and they worked for they were good for like maybe 6 months or a year. They're just too small. They don't work good, the steering stabilizer. You put this big Monroe on, it's a lot fatter. The stock ones are like this. The Monroe is big. It looks like almost like a regular car shock absorber. I put that on, and that solved the problem. The truck is excellent now. It steers beautiful, and that was a relatively inexpensive part. I can't remember what it was. It was probably like $30 or $35, but it was very reasonable as far as the cost goes compared to the factory one, which is like $100-some. So anyway, that's basically it on the T100. It's a good truck. Other problems that I've had with it, it has the rear axle seals go bad. There's a lot of parts to the rear axle seals that allow the fluid from the rear pumpkin to get into the brakes. What I would recommend on that, if you got both sides leaking into the brakes, do not buy all the parts and reseal it like I did. It cost $2,000. Spend $1,000 or $1,200 and buy a complete rebuilt rear end. Because when these guys did it, they didn't do the greatest job. It was a dealer done job. I had them do that because it was a little bit out of my league. I mean, I do my own brakes and stuff like that, but basically, if you ever have that happening on both sides, just buy a rebuilt rear end. It's much cheaper, and it'll be done right from the factory, and everything will be new. As far as that goes. Another thing I saw online, some guy had the rear pumpkin rust out because it's like sheet metal on the back of the rear pumpkin, and all this fluid leaked out and it ruined the rear end. So make sure you sand down and paint your pumpkin cover. Keep it painted so that it doesn't rust through and your fluid leaks out and end up blowing your rear out. So basically, that's the T100 rant for today. So if you have any questions, definitely leave an email because I can't respond to a post for some reason. So leave an email if you have a question, comments, subscribe. We do a little bit on my channel with a lot of different things, Toyota T100 trucks, vintage tube radios, and walkie-talkies that obviously they're not CB walkie-talkies are not tube, but they're like 70s walkie-talkies. We do a little bit with that, and of course Diogenes lamp is my lanterns that I restore, the Coleman and Sears and other brands of lanterns that I restore, and I put those on YouTube occasionally. So what I could tell you is I definitely recommend EBC brakes for my truck, for my application. The yellow stuff are the premium ones. the ones I recommend. They also have green stuff, I maybe for the back, but I think that if you can get the yellow stuff ones over the green, get the yellow stuff, because the yellows are better. They're a little bit more costly. I believe these, I shopped around for these, and they ended up costing me like $130 for the front, to do both wheels on the front. I'm going to be installing these within the next few days. It's just that I was going to do it today, but I had nobody to help me bleed the brakes, so need a little helper to handle this. But these go on. This is a very easy job to put this on. Just bang out the 2 bolts. Put anti-seize on the bolts when you put them back. You have to take off the bolt here for the line, and just put that on. Slap them on. Bleed them out. Put the 2 bolts back in, and bang.